My name is Tsang Yok-sing. Tsang Yok-sing, well, if people don't know me, if people don't know the name Tsang Yok-sing, then they won't be interested in listening to me. So I think that will do.
For the recent published NPC's decision, what impact do you think it has on Hong Kong's democracy? Because some people argue that there's no democracy in Hong Kong anymore. What do you think about it?
What does democracy mean? What does democracy mean? So I think if anyone says, because now we have, say, a number of so-called pan-democrats having left the Legislative Council, then we no longer have democracy. So anyone saying that should first explain what he means by democracy. Why is it the case that without these 19 legislators in the council, we now have no democracy? Why is it the case?
Some people argue that the multi-party system would be jeopardized.
What does it mean? There are still quite a number of different political parties in the Legislative Council now. So, and what does it mean when you say a multi-party system? What does it mean? Of course, some people are very unhappy with what the NPCSC decision has done. Some people are not happy. We all know that, right? And they will, they will criticize it in their own way. But to make a meaningful criticism, you have to provide reasons. So if you say, democracy is dead in Hong Kong, why? Why do you say that? The onus is on the person making such a comment to explain.
How to prevent the LegCo from becoming a place only one voice is heard? Because some people are worried about that. And there's also like some discussions on loyal opposition party. So what kind of opposition party do you think that we need in Hong Kong to balance the power of pro-establishment party?
In fact, I believe that any student of political science must agree that everyone in the Legislative Council, from whatever political party they come, everyone is in the opposition. Why? They are not the government. No one in the Legislative Council is either a government official or belongs to a government party. No. So their role, being Legislative Council members, is to monitor the work of the government. They do not and they cannot initiate any government policy. They cannot even introduce a large number of bills. You know, we know that, right? Article 74 in the Basic Law rules out the possibility of any member, whether that member comes from the Democratic Party or the DAB. He or she cannot introduce any bill, almost any bill related to public expenditure, our political system, the operation of the government, cannot be introduced by a member. So by definition, they are not government members. So everybody in the LegCo is in the opposition. right? Now, as you said, there will only be one voice. No, I believe that before the pan-Democrats went away, there was only one voice, one noise, the noise of the bell sounding when someone is calling quorum. It's only the quorum bell sounding all the time, right? In the last few weeks, I mean, the time since the beginning of the current legislative year, what have people been hearing? Different voices? No. Only one noise, sounding of the quorum bell. And I believe, well, now that the pan-Democrats are gone, we don't have to put up with the quorum calls 2 or 3 times an hour. Now we have a good platform for the remaining legislators. You may call them pro-government or pro-establishment, but they have made it very clear. And the chief executive also said that in public. The government cannot expect these remaining legislators to simply agree with whatever the government puts forward. No way. And they have their different views. Well, of course, being so-called pro-government or pro-establishment, they have, I hope, a united stand on most of the important political issues, right? Like they're all in support of the national security law, right? They're all against anybody going abroad, inviting foreign governments to interfere into Hong Kong affairs. On such issues, of course, they are one voice. And I believe this is good for Hong Kong. But they come from different political parties. They represent different trades and professions, different constituencies, and they cannot speak with one voice when it comes to public policies.
And you once wrote a commentary saying that you're also talking about like the talents of the pro-establishment party. And you were saying that there's a phenomenon that's lack of pro-establishment party talents. So maybe you could elaborate more on that?
I was responding to the criticism that the pro-establishment camp has no political talent. I was responding to that, right? Now, if you have read that article carefully, I asked the question, okay, first of all, are there people with political talent in Hong Kong? If you say yes, there's a lot of political talent in Hong Kong, but people with political talent simply do not join the pro-establishment camp. Then my question would be, where have they gone? Have they gone over to the opposition camp? Show me some. Show me good politicians in the opposition camp. Well, I think in the last 5 or even 10 years, people have been saying there is no political leader in the opposition camp. Okay, now, have they joined the government? Have the good politicians in Hong Kong joined the government? Even the chief executive herself admitted that she's no politician. So where have the politicians gone? So it is not that there are politicians, good politicians in Hong Kong, and they refuse to join the DAB, the FTU, or other pro-government, pro-establishment parties. We have a lot of very bright young people in the DAB. Well, we have a section in the DAB called the Young DAB. The number of members in Young DAB is larger than the membership in any of the other parties. So it is simply not true that we don't have young talent joining the DAB. Now, if you say there are no, outstanding politicians in the DAB, then I ask, if there are good politicians in Hong Kong, where are they? Where do you find them? So the problem is not that there are good politicians and they don't want to join the DAB. The problem is Hong Kong as a whole is in lack of good politicians. This is the problem.
So how do you define a good politician? Or even if they don't join the political parties, or what characteristics do you think?
The characteristics of a good politician, first, he must have vision. He must have very clear political convictions. He must have a very clear idea how or in what direction our society should progress to a better world. How to make life better for everybody. Now, that's the first thing. All good politicians, they have their vision. They have a very clear idea of where they should take this society to. Second, a good politician must have a good, political mind, let's say. He must be able to make good political judgment. Meaning, now, if we say that he must have clear political conviction, telling him what he should do, then he must also have good political judgment to tell him what he can do. Well, sometimes you know that, for example, you want social equality for everybody, but you have to move towards that goal step by step. Or democracy. Suppose you believe in full democracy. You believe in electing the chief executive and everybody in the LegCo by universal suffrage. You have to move towards that goal step by step, right? So that is what I call political judgment. When we can succeed in taking one step forward. And then finally, at the most practical level, he must possess the political skills that would enable him to convince people, to lead people towards the goal, right? Now that is what I believe any good politician must possess. The political convictions, political vision, the political sense of judgment, and the political skills. Through dots, we connect.